Howdy everyone, I hope you're all doing well. This is Roaming Prepper Channel. I'm your host Pete, and thank you for joining me once again on one of my videos. So I want to talk about having to bug out on short notice, right? We talk about bug outs and bug out locations, and that's all fine and dandy, but it seems to be a recurring theme in America that when something really bad happens, people will bug out of a location when the firemen are pounding on their door at 2 a.m. A good example of this was the Los Angeles fires, where we witnessed a lot of people basically getting chased out of their homes by the fire at 1, 2 a.m. Now, all of us in America and Canada and all across the world, we were watching the fires for days before these folks got run out by the fire. What blew my mind was they're running out in their PJs with their dogs, and then they're on the news saying, well, we left everything, we weren't ready to leave. It's almost as if they were in denial that the fire was there. During the recent windstorms here in Texas and New Mexico and Kansas, we actually had fires break out, and it wasn't anything nefarious. What it was power lines were getting knocked down. The grid companies were trying to shut sections down as needed, but it takes a minute for them to do that. They can't just flip a switch because it'll damage equipment. And before they could properly shut things down, the power lines were getting knocked down. They were starting grass fires. Now we have solar, we have wind farms, and we have oil and gas out here. And so we're in proximity to all this stuff. We've had wind farm turbines, the big windmills will catch fire because they're either moving too fast or they don't move fast enough, or they get locked up by the dust and they catch fire. We've had sparks set the solar panels on fire. And then, of course, oil and gas. If there's a gas leak and you have a bunch of dust flying past, say, a wellhead, it can cause a static charge. If there's any kind of leak, you got a fire. And then there's just general equipment, trucks, and everything out here. So what we decided to do was we decided to make a quick mental plan. Okay, there's no fire near us, but let's plan as if there was. Because if one breaks out, we're going to have a very short timeline to get the hell out. So what we did, we have two SUVs. We pre-packed personal bags for me and the wife was the first thing we did. So a couple of days, we made it look like we were going on a long weekend. So change of clothes, 4 days worth of clothes, underwear, toiletries, etc. And because we travel so much, we have a lot of this already pre-packed. That also included the get-home bags that we keep on both vehicles, so those were already in there. We also laid out a cooler with drinks. We have some small coolers. We laid out two. We put the drinks in there. We didn't fill them with ice just yet, but they were laid out in the foyer with our personal bags. We then took our personal laptops, iPads, etc. We have our carry-on bags for all the flights we take. We pack that up, put extra connection cables just in case we go somewhere where they don't have a USB-C, they have a USB-A, whatever the case is, all our various adapters. And again, it really came in handy that we travel so much because we already had these amenities. Of course, my Baofangs are already charged. We have a GMRS license in the house, so we're not ham radio operators yet. We're working on that. But I stuck a drone into I call it the electronics bag, a drone, a wind-up radio, and I'll put a link for that in my shop as well, that I've used now for a couple of years. It's battery powered and it can be charged with the winding AM, FM, NOAA. I can get all the emergency channels on there. So I had all that redundancy. We also pulled extra physical maps and put them in each personal bag. So each car had an extra map. Now, normally the cars already have a map, but if it gets wet or something, we have those laminated maps I've talked about before. And those also went into the laid out bags we have. Lastly, we have the pets. So we have a pet backpack. I've done a whole video on a pet board and how I prep for that. And that's really for travel, but it worked out for a bug out. We pulled the bag, filled it with the needed necessities. We measured out, because we measure the food for the dogs. We don't rando spill food for them. We measured out a week and a half worth of food for the 4 dogs. I opened the back of my SUV. I put the leashes in the far back. I have 4 tie-off points so the dogs can all sit there and they have room to move around. We started laying everything out. My vehicle was full. My wife was half tank, so we went and filled her up real quick despite the wind, drove back to the house. We literally, for the 3 days of that windstorm, we had our bags laid out in the foyer and in my office waiting. We also had my bug out book, and I've done a video on a bug out book, as well as spare cash. We had snacks, we had amenities. We checked both radios. So we have the little FRS radios, and we had the 2 Baofangs for more range. I also have a CB that I needed to put batteries in. I discovered that when I packed it. But I had a CB in my vehicle, so I can listen to the truckers and then get on the radio and talk to my wife and tell her what they're saying. Truckers will talk to each other going in different directions. Now, a lot of the truckers in this part of the world, they speak English and Spanish, so we're both bilingual. That really works in our favor, so we can kind of listen in. And we were ready. And basically, we also took the, you know, that tray you put in the trailer hitch of an SUV, and it basically gives you an extra storage spot where you could put more goods. I had already put that on the truck. I had pinned it in, and we had another Pelican case with some other amenities and ratchet straps. Everything was laid out either in the garage, in my office, or in the foyer. So if for some reason we got a knock on the door or a phone call or an alert on our phone saying, hey, you have an imminent ground fire in your area, or even worse, a chemical plant has caught fire, now you have toxic fumes in the air, we can make that decision. Do we stay or do we go? And if we need to go, we're gone. We also pulled both our MIRA safety masks. I'll have those. I have a link for that as well. Had those laid out because we are in proximity to chemical plants and tank batteries and all sorts of stuff like that. So we were ready. We were laid out. We were confident after we kind of went through everything, and with all our trips, we're like, we can be out of here. Dogs, amenities, paperwork, insurance papers, phones, computers, everything, and the 4 doggos in under 15 to 20 minutes. We could be gone. And I mean, when I mean gone, I mean on the way out of town. So that was a comforting thought. It turned out there were no nearby fires. They never developed. And what we wound up having to do is put everything back. Before I put everything back, I plugged in a lot of stuff just to make sure it was fully charged. If it had a green light, I unplugged it and put it away. In any case, folks, just the thought for y'all, you may want to do a dry run with the family, or for yourself if you're living alone with your pets. Do a dry run. Okay, if I had to leave my house now, or if there was an imminent danger, what would I need? Make that list now, and maybe even pre-pack it now so you know physically you put your hands on all the little amenities. You don't want to be in a panic like the poor folks in LA. They took for granted they could control the fire and they didn't. 2 in the morning, cops or firefighters are banging on your door and you've got to leave because your house is about to burn down, and folks were running out like with whatever they could get their hands on, and they didn't have clothes. They were in flip-flops. No, I'm gonna have a change of clothes. I'm gonna have clothing that I can function in if I get chased out of my house. So anyway, folks, you can't plan for everything, but you can plan for stuff like that. So you guys be good, be safe. I hope some of these tips are helpful. I will try to put any of the critters and equipment I mention in my links, but again, do your own shopping. Because, I mean, you want to support the channel, that's great, but you may find a better deal by you, and I'm all about you guys saving money. So if you can save money somewhere else, just do it. I'm not offended at all. I think actually that's awesome. So anyway, you guys be good, be safe. God bless. I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care of yourselves.